On July 15, 2016, a military coup in Turkey attempted to overthrow its popular elected president. More than 250 people were killed, parliament was bombed, and bridges seized. The coup quickly failed. It is unclear if the American empire organized the coup, but there is no doubt the Americans knew a coup was planned and encouraged it. The hard proof was the evacuation of American military dependents from Turkey 4 months prior. The Turkish Public Broadcast Service released a detailed documentary about this coup in 2019, link below. The American government denied involvement as Turkish media broadcasted information on American figures as alleged coup organizers. This included the former NATO Forces Afghanistan commander, U.S. Army General John Campbell, and Henri J. Barkey, a former CIA operative. According to the Istanbul Yeni Şafak paper, Barkey and a group of 17 others met with Graham E. Fuller, the former CIA station chief in Turkey, during the coup in the splendid Palace Hotel on the Princess Island outside Istanbul. Graham Fuller had ties to the accused coup leader, Imam Fethullah Gulen, pictured, an Islamic preacher who was run out of Turkey for allegations of conspiracy to overthrow its secular government. Gulen ended up in Pennsylvania, where he now oversees a vast organization known as the Gulen Movement that has over $20 billion in assets and runs Islamic schools in over 100 countries. Gulen did not waltz into the United States and gain immediate residency. He fought a protracted legal battle that included reference letters from well-connected American political figures, to include the CIA's Graham Fuller. The Turkish government has demanded the extradition of Gulen for years, but is ignored by the United States. F. William Engel wrote an excellent article, link below, that sheds light on American involvement in the region and this coup to overthrow President Recep Erdogan, pictured. The American empire had become irritated by the democratic government of Turkey because it often disobeyed orders. In 2003, it refused to allow American ground forces into Turkey to invade Iraq. Turkey often voiced support for oppressed Palestinians and maintained friendly relations with Iran. Turkey had joined the plot to destroy Syria. See the video link below. Turkey reclaimed parts of northern Syria, but clashed with American armed Kurds who had invaded Syria from Iraq. The plot to destroy Syria failed after Russia intervened. Turkey was left with millions of Syrian refugees, which Erdogan threatened to unleash on Europe. In 2014, Erdogan committed the ultimate sin when he called Israel a terrorist state.
1. Who finances Israel? 2. Israel is a terror state. They are creating a wave of terror with what they're doing now. Qatar is standing by the persecuted and the victims by offering humanitarian aid. Qatar's cooperation with Turkey has always been to be on the side of the persecuted and to support them through humanitarian aid. This is what's being done. To cast a different role to Qatar or to cast a different role to Turkey, first of all, shows how bad the intention of those casting those roles.
Most Turks supported President Erdogan. Ousting him via the democratic process was not possible, so a coup was organized. The American government strongly denies any knowledge of the coup. However, there is video of U.S. Army General Michael Flynn, who had recently retired from the Army and was slated to become Donald Trump's national security advisor. He was speaking at a conference when the coup began and stated that it should be applauded.
Now, I will tell you that I spent most of my career in the region of the world that we're still engaged in. And so many of you maybe only caught it in the news, or some of you, probably most of you don't know, but there's an ongoing coup going on in Turkey right now. Right now, there's a coup. Yeah, and I was just literally going back and forth with a very great friend of mine who trained with us in the Turkish military. And the Turkish military is now, I don't know whether they're going to succeed or not, but the Turkish military Anybody that's switched on and paying attention, they have been, just excised for many years by what really became a secular country, meaning a sort of a regular sort of nation state, and then began to move towards Islamism. This is Turkey under Erdogan, who is actually very close to President Obama. So I'm going to be very fascinated to see what happens, because if the military succeeds, and one of the things that came out of the military tonight, they're about plus 8 hours from here, so it's probably around 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning there. One of the things that the military immediately said is, we recognize our responsibilities with NATO, we recognize our responsibilities with the United Nations. We want to make sure that the world knows we want to be seen as a secular nation. This is the military. So, yeah, that is what happened.
The hard proof of American knowledge of the coup occurred 4 months prior. The United States maintains several military bases in Turkey that helps the empire dominate the region. Some Turkish air units are used in Incirlik, and fighter planes from there drop bombs on Istanbul during the coup. Nevertheless, American generals there claimed they knew nothing about a planned coup. But hard proof was the evacuation of all American military and diplomatic families from Turkey 4 months prior. A March 29, 2016 article in the American military's Stars and Stripes newspaper reported, quote, "The mandatory departure order, announced by the State Department, affects nearly all Defense Department dependents assigned to Incirlik, as well as those at smaller bases in Izmir and Mughla. The families of U.S. diplomats in the same areas are also ordered to depart. On Monday, Israel issued a new travel advisory for Turkey, warning Israeli citizens to leave the country as soon as possible and avoid traveling there." End quote. This evacuation order was never explained and had never occurred before, even during the wars when Scud missiles from Iraq could hit the base. The 700 family members remained as millions of Syrian refugees roamed Turkey, while Islamic mercenaries traveled south near these bases. American aircraft from Turkey have bombed Iraqis and Syrians for over a decade and never considered families in Turkey at risk until just before the coup. This and other evidence convinced most Turks that the Americans were behind the failed coup. The U.S. government scrambled to convince Turkey otherwise, with American Chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff and Vice President promptly visiting Turkey amid rumors that Turkey might leave NATO. President Erdogan was not impressed. He improved ties with Russia and Iran, resulting in an informal alliance against the American empire. The failed coup in Turkey is another reminder that the American empire has no allies, only client states. Any nation that resists becomes a target. This was proven by now American President Joe Biden's statements to the editors of the New York Times in 2019. He explained that a coup is risky, but the United States will employ other methods to oust Turkey's popular and democratically elected president.
And so what I think we should be doing is taking a very different approach to him now, making it clear that we support opposition leadership, making it clear that we are in a position where we have a way in which was working for a while to integrate the Kurdish population who wanted to participate in the process in their parliament, et cetera, because we have to speak out about what we in fact think are wrong. He has to pay a price. He has to pay a price for whether or not we're going to continue to sell certain weapons to him. In fact, if he has the air defense system that they're flying F-15 through to see how they can try to figure out how to do it. So I'm very concerned about it. I'm very concerned about it. But I'm still of the view that if we were to engage more directly like I was doing with them, that we can support those elements of the Turkish leadership that still exist and get more from them and embolden them to be able to take on and defeat Erdogan, not by a coup, but by the electoral process. He got blown out. He got blown out in Istanbul. He got blown out, his party. And so what did we do now? We just sit there and you yielded. The last thing I would have done is yielded to him with regard to the Kurds. the absolute last thing. And I had a couple of those meetings with them about the Kurds, and they did not clamp down at the time. And anyway, so we have to make it clear that if they're looking to, because at the end of the day, Turkey doesn't want to have to rely on Russia. They've had a bite out of that apple a long time ago. But they got to understand that we're not going to continue to play with them the way we have. So I am very concerned. I am very concerned. I'm very concerned about our airfields and access to them as well. And I think it takes an awful lot of work for us to be able to get together with our allies in the region and deal with how we isolate his actions in the region, particularly in the Eastern Mediterranean relating to oil and a whole range of other things which take too long to go into. But the answer is, yes, I'm worried.